My name is Emily Johnson, and I'm 35 years old. I texted my family group chat from the airport. My flight lands at 1 p.m. Can someone pick me up? I was returning from brain surgery in Houston. A risky procedure to remove a benign tumor that had been pressing on my optic nerve. My mother replied instantly, "We're too busy today. Just call an Uber." My sister Olivia Brown added, "Why don't you ever plan ahead?" I stared at my phone, still dizzy from the medication, and typed back, "Okay." What they didn't know was that someone else had already seen my message. Someone who'd been tracking my surgery from 2,000 miles away. When my family discovered who actually picked me up that day, my phone exploded with 49 missed calls in a single hour. But what happened at my sister's wedding a week later? That's when everything changed forever. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. It's 3:05 p.m. here in Seattle, and I'd love to know what time it is in your corner of the world. Let me take you back to 3 months before that airport text. The headache started in January. At first, I blamed them on the long shifts in the pediatric oncology ward. 12-hour days caring for children with cancer will drain anyone. But when my vision began to blur during a critical IV insertion, I knew something was seriously wrong. The MRI revealed a meningioma, a benign brain tumor, but its location made it incredibly dangerous. It was pressing against my optic nerve, threatening permanent blindness if left untreated. My neurologist in Seattle referred me to Dr. William Hunt in Houston. 105F, only 3 surgeons in the country who could perform the delicate procedure. "You'll need someone with you," Dr. William Hunt said during our video consultation. "Their recovery is intense, 2 weeks minimum in Houston, and you absolutely cannot fly alone afterward." I assured him I'd have support. That was my first lie. The night before I flew to Houston, I posted in our family group chat, "Surgery is scheduled for March 15th. I'll be at Methodist Hospital if anyone wants to visit." My mother responded with a thumbs up emoji. Olivia Brown didn't respond at all. My Diane Wilson Turner wrote, "Sending prayers." No one offered to come. I spent 2 weeks in that Houston hospital room alone. The nurses felt so bad for me that they took turns eating lunch in my room, pretending they needed a quiet place to take their break. One nurse, Sarah Lewis, held my hand when I woke up from surgery, disoriented and terrified. "Where's your family, honey?" she asked gently. "They're busy," I whispered, the excuse automatic, even through the anesthesia fog. Sarah Lewis squeezed my hand tighter. She'd seen this before. The forgotten family member, the one whose emergencies were never quite emergency enough. She stayed an extra hour after her shift that day, just sitting with me while I cried. The tumor was successfully removed. My vision was saved. But lying in that hospital bed, I realized something else needed to be cut out of my life. I just didn't know yet that the universe was about to hand me the scalpel. My discharge day was March 29th. That's when I sent the text that would change everything. You need to understand something about being the family disappointment. It becomes your identity before you even realize it's happening. In the Johnson family, I was the cautionary tale my mother told at brunches. Olivia Brown just landed another promotion. Mom would beam at her book club. And Emily's still at the hospital. The way she said hospital like it was a prison sentence instead of a career. The hierarchy was established early. Olivia Brown was the golden child who went into marketing, married well the first time, and bought a house at 25. I was the one who wasted her intelligence on nursing, married a man who left me for his CrossFit instructor, and moved back into a 1-bedroom apartment at 32. "You were always too soft," Mom said when I told her about the divorce. Olivia Brown would never let a man walk all over her like that. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Olivia Brown's first marriage ended because she cheated with her boss. But Olivia Brown controlled the narrative and I was too tired to fight it. At family dinners, I sat at the kids' table until I was 30. "We need room for the real couples," Mom explained, gesturing to Olivia Brown and whatever boyfriend she had that month. Even after years of nursing school, even after becoming head nurse of my unit, I was still the single sister who couldn't keep a man. The financial dynamics were even worse. I'd lent Olivia Brown $15,000 over the years, $5,000 for her emergency Cabo trip after her divorce, $10,000 for her wedding to Michael. "It's what family does," Mom said when I hesitated. "Olivia Brown would do the same for you." Except Olivia Brown never had to because I never asked for anything. Not money, not time, not even a ride from the airport after brain surgery. The last time I'd asked for help was 2 years ago when my ex-husband cleaned out our joint account. "I needed $500 for rent," Mom's response. "Maybe this will teach you to be more careful with men." So, when I texted the family group chat from Houston, I already knew what would happen. I just needed to see it one more time to confirm that nothing had changed, that I was still invisible. I was wrong. Something had changed. Someone was watching. March 29th, 11:47 a.m. I sat in Houston's airport, discharge papers in my lap, surgical site still throbbing despite the pain medication. My hands shook as I opened the family group chat. "My flight lands in Seattle at 100 p.m. Can someone pick me up? Just had surgery and can't drive." The typing indicators appeared immediately. "Mom first. We're too busy today. Just call an Uber." Then Olivia Brown. "Why don't you ever plan ahead? Michael and I have wedding prep all day." My Diane Wilson Turner. "Wish I could. But kids have soccer." Uncle Charles working. 17 family members in that chat. 17 people who lived within 20 minutes of SeaTac Airport. 17 variations of no. I stared at the screen, waiting for someone, anyone, to reconsider, to ask how the surgery went, to even acknowledge that I'd had brain surgery. Instead, Olivia Brown sent a photo of wedding centerpieces. "Which one do you guys prefer, the roses or the peonies?" The responses flooded in. Everyone had an opinion about flowers. No one had a question about my tumor. I typed, "Okay." Then I switched off my phone. The flight attendant helped me to my seat, noticing my medical bracelet and unsteady walk. "Is someone meeting you in Seattle, honey?" she asked with concern. "Yes," I said. "Someone is." I didn't know how true that was. During the flight, I dozed fitfully, dreams mixing with memories. The time I drove Olivia Brown to the airport at 4:05 a.m. for her honeymoon. The weekend I spent assembling furniture for Mom's new condo. The countless family emergencies where I was the first to show up, the last to leave, the one who never needed reciprocation. When we began our descent into Seattle, I turned my phone back on. 3 new messages in the family chat all about wedding flowers and catering options. Not a single "how is your flight" or "hope you're feeling better." I scrolled up to my request for a ride. It sat there ignored like a fossil of my worth to them. The plane touched down at 12:59 p.m. I walked slowly toward baggage claim, each step an effort. That's when I saw him standing by the escalator holding a sign with my name. Richard Anderson, CEO of St. Mary's Hospital. My boss's boss's boss. And he'd flown all the way from San Francisco to pick me up. Before I tell you what happened at that airport, you need to understand what I was about to lose if I kept letting my family treat me like a ghost. The money was just the tip of it. That $15,000 I'd given Olivia Brown. That was my house down payment fund accumulated over 5 years of working double shifts. Every time she needed something, I emptied my savings. Family first, Mom always said, but only when it flowed toward Olivia Brown. 3 months before my surgery, Olivia Brown had called crying. "The wedding venue wants the deposit now or we lose it. Michael's money is tied up in investments." Without hesitating, it transferred $10,000. She'd promised to pay me back after the wedding. We both knew she wouldn't, but the financial drain was nothing compared to what it was doing to my soul. I'd started declining invitations from coworkers because I couldn't reciprocate. My money went to family. I'd stopped dating because how do you explain that your family treats you like an ATM that they don't even thank? The worst part was how it affected my work. The children in the oncology ward could sense my sadness. 7-year-old Ella White, fighting leukemia with more grace than most adults, asked me one day, "Miss Emily, why are you always sad? Did someone hurt your feelings?" How do you tell a dying child that yes, someone hurt your feelings, and they do it every single day, and they're the people who are supposed to love you most? My supervisor, Karen Mitchell, had pulled me aside the week before surgery. "Emily, you're the best nurse we have, but lately you seem diminished, like someone slowly turning off your light." She was right. Every family gathering where I was relegated to the kids' table, every ignored text, every favor that only went one way, they were all little deaths. I was disappearing one slide at a time. The breaking point came when Mom posted on Facebook, "So proud of my successful daughter Olivia Brown. Wedding planning while crushing it at work." In the comments, someone asked about her other daughter. Mom replied, "Emily's fine. She's in healthcare. Not Emily's amazing with cancer kids. Not Emily just made head nurse. Just fine and in healthcare." Like I was a footnote in my own family story. That's what I was thinking about when I saw Richard Anderson at the airport. I was ready to disappear completely. I had no idea he was about to make me impossible to ignore. The morning of my surgery, something had broken inside me that had nothing to do with the tumor. Ella White, my favorite patient, had made me a card. Inside, in shaky handwriting, she'd written, "Get better, Miss Emily. You're the only one who doesn't pretend to be happy. That makes me feel like it's okay to be scared sometimes." A 7-year-old cancer patient was comforting me. She saw what my family refused to see, that I was drowning in their indifference. Karen Mitchell found me crying in the supply closet that day. "Emily, what's really going on? And don't say you're fine. My family doesn't even know I exist unless they need something," I whispered. "I'm having brain surgery next week, and my mother's only concern was whether I'd be back in time to help with Olivia Brown's wedding favors." Karen Mitchell held me while I sobbed. "You know what the hardest part about being a caregiver is?" she said. "We give so much to others that we forget we deserve care too." That night, I made a decision. After the surgery, things would change. Either my family would see me, really see me, or I would stop seeing them. I couldn't keep living as their ghost. But old habits die hard. Even as I was being wheeled into surgery, I was thinking about Olivia Brown's wedding, about how I'd need to be recovered in time to help, about how Mom would be disappointed if I couldn't fulfill my duties as invisible support staff. Dr. William Hunt noticed my distress. "Emily, your blood pressure is spiking. What's wrong?" "I'm worried about letting people down," I admitted. He looked at me with such kindness. "You're about to have brain surgery. The only person you need to worry about is yourself." If only it were that simple. During my recovery, I had a lot of time to think. Days in a hospital bed with no visitors gives you clarity. I realized I'd been so focused on earning my family's love that I'd forgotten something crucial. Love isn't supposed to be earned. It's supposed to be given. When I sent that airport text, I thought I was giving them one last chance. What I didn't realize was that someone else had been watching my story unfold. Someone who understood that the best nurses are often the worst at asking for help. Someone who was about to change everything. The family group chat was where we performed our version of love. It was theater, and everyone knew their roles. March 29th, 11:47 a.m. I typed carefully, each word deliberate. "My flight lands in Seattle at 100 p.m. Can someone pick me up?" Just had surgery and can't drive. Mom's response was instant, like she'd been waiting. We're too busy today. Just call an Uber. Olivia Brown followed within seconds. Why don't you ever plan ahead? Then the pylon began. Diane Wilson, you know it's Saturday, right? Diane Wilson Turner, kids have soccer. Uncle Charles working. Olivia Brown again. Always the victim. Emily, Mom. We have wedding preparations all day. You knew this. The messages came fast. Each one a small blade. I watched them stack up. 17 family members finding 17 different ways to say I didn't matter. Then Olivia Brown sent the photo. Which centerpiece urgent? The chat exploded with opinions. Suddenly, everyone had time to type paragraphs about roses versus peas. Mom wrote a dissertation on color theory. Diane Wilson shared Pinterest boards. I scrolled up to my message. It sat there abandoned like I'd asked about the weather instead of begging for help after brain surgery. I typed, "Okay." Olivia Brown immediately responded, "Don't be passive-aggressive." Mom added, "We all have responsibilities, Emily." That's when I noticed something. 3 dots appeared and disappeared at the bottom of my screen. Someone was typing and deleting, typing and deleting. This went on for a full minute. Finally, a private message popped up. Not from family, from Richard Anderson. I saw your message. Karen Mitchell forwarded me the group chat because she was worried. I'm already at SeaTac, Gate B7. Don't take an Uber. I stared at the message, confused. Richard Anderson was in San Francisco. How could he be at SeaTac? Another message. I flew up this morning. No one should be alone after brain surgery, especially not someone who spends every day caring for sick children. Back in the family chat, Olivia Brown had posted a poll about napkin colors. 17 votes within 30 seconds. I switched off my phone and walked toward my gate. Behind me, the Houston nurses waved goodbye. Sarah Lewis called out, "Someone better be taking care of you in Seattle." Someone was, just not who anyone expected. As I boarded, I didn't know that Richard had been watching my situation for months. I didn't know about the opportunity he was about to offer. I definitely didn't know my family would call 48 times in 1 hour. If you've ever felt invisible to your own family, type "seen" in the comments. I read every single one, and your stories help others know they're not alone. Also, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have kept quiet and taken that Uber? Or would you have called them out right there in the group chat? Let me know below. Sometimes the people who should love us most are the ones who see us least. But here's what I learned that day at the airport. Sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places. Now, let me tell you who was waiting at gate B7. Richard Anderson stood at baggage claim holding a handwritten sign with my name like a driver waiting for a VIP. The CEO of a hospital system worth $2 billion had made a sign with a Sharpie and printer paper. "Emily," he said simply, "how are you feeling?" I started to say fine. That automatic response, but something in his eyes stopped me. Honestly, like someone took a melon baller to my skull. He smiled. "That's the first honest thing I've heard you say about yourself in 3 years. He took my bag before I could protest, his other hand gentle on my elbow as I swayed slightly. "NY's been keeping me updated. 2 weeks alone in Houston. That's unacceptable." "My family was busy," I said, the excuse automatic. "I read the group chat," he said quietly. "Karen Mitchell showed me. Wedding centerpieces aren't more important than brain surgery." He'd arranged everything. A town car waited outside, stocked with my favorite coconut water and the exact pain medication I'd been prescribed. He'd even brought a pillow for my head. "How did you know?" "I called your surgeon, Dr. William Hunt, and I did our residencies together. He told me about the sweet nurse whose family never showed up." During the drive, Richard explained he'd been watching my work for months. The way I stayed late with scared children. How I'd learned Spanish to comfort Sarah Lewis's grandmother. the fund I'd secretly started for families who couldn't afford parking at the hospital. "You give everything to everyone," he said. "But who takes care of you?" "I take care of myself," I said. "No," he corrected. "You survive by yourself. There's a difference." When we reached my apartment, he'd already arranged for a nurse to check on me daily. My fridge was stocked. Fresh flowers sat on my counter with a note. From the pediatric ward, Ella White insisted on sunflowers. "This is too much," I protested. "This is what family is supposed to do," he said. "Real family, the kind you choose." As he left, he mentioned something about changes coming to the hospital, opportunities for growth. But my pain medication was kicking in, and his words felt distant, dreamlike. I didn't check my phone until the next morning. 49 missed calls, 17 voicemails, 132 text messages. They'd found out who picked me up. The next morning, through the haze of pain medication, I noticed an envelope Richard had left on my coffee table. "Open when you're feeling better" was written across it in his careful handwriting. I set it aside and checked my phone. The family group chat had exploded. "Mom, why was Richard Anderson at the airport?" Olivia Brown, the Richard Anderson, the billionaire. "Diane Wilson, how do you know him?" "Mom, Emily, call me immediately." Olivia Brown, this is so embarrassing. "My boss knows who he is." The messages kept coming. Suddenly, everyone remembered I existed. But it was a private text from Richard that caught my attention. "Board meeting next Thursday. Some changes coming, rest up. You'll want to be clear-headed." I didn't understand what he meant. Not yet. That afternoon, Karen Mitchell called. "So Richard Anderson personally flew to Seattle to pick you up." "It's not a big deal," I said. "Emily, he canceled a meeting with the governor to get you." "That's not nothing." I thought about the envelope on my coffee table, about the way Richard had said opportunities for growth, about how NY's voice sounded strange, like she knew something it didn't. "Karen Mitchell, what's going on?" "Just rest," she said. "But Emily, that thing you've been doing, making yourself small so others feel big, that ends now." Over the next few days, as I recovered, strange things kept happening. Our chief medical officer called to check on me personally. The head of HR sent flowers. People who'd never acknowledged my existence suddenly knew my name. Olivia Brown texted privately. "Michael says Richard Anderson is restructuring the entire hospital system. Is that why he picked you up?" I didn't respond. I was too busy staring at the envelope. On day 3, I finally opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with the St. Mary's letterhead. "Pending board approval" was stamped across the top. The title below made my hands shake. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First came Olivia Brown's wedding. Mom called that night. Her voice different, softer. "Emily, sweetie, how are you feeling?" "Sweetie, she hadn't called me that in years." "I'm fine, Mom. About the wedding next week. We've rearranged the seating. You'll be at the main table now." After 3 years at the kids' table, suddenly I was worthy of the adult section. "What changed?" I asked. "Nothing," she said too quickly. "Family should sit together." The 49 missed calls had come in a single hour. I watched my phone light up with them, each ring more frantic than the last. Mom called 18 times. Olivia Brown called 15 times. Even relatives who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly remembered my number. The voicemails told the story. "Mom, call number 1. Emily, call me back. Mom, call number 5. Why was Richard Anderson at the airport? How do you know him? Olivia Brown, call number 3. Emily, this is serious. Michael's firm is trying to get Anderson's business. Mom, call 12. This is embarrassing. What did you tell him about us? Olivia Brown, call number 10. You're not answering on purpose. So childish. Mom, call number 17. How could you embarrass us like this?" The text messages were worse. The family group chat had become a digital interrogation room. Olivia Brown, "Emily's doing this for attention. Diane Wilson. She probably exaggerated her surgery to get sympathy. Mom, she's always been dramatic. Then someone Googled Richard Anderson properly, Uncle Charles. Holy, his net worth is $500 million. Olivia Brown, he owns 12 hospitals. Mom, Emily, sweetie, are you okay? We were so worried. The shift was instant. Suddenly, I was sweetie again. Suddenly, they were worried. Olivia Brown texted privately. Is he single? Could you introduce us at the wedding? Mom called again, this time leaving a different message. Emily, honey, I've been thinking, you should bring Richard as your +1 to the wedding. We'd love to meet him properly. My +1. After 3 years of being told I couldn't bring dates because we're keeping it small, suddenly there was room. But the most telling message came from Michael, Olivia Brown's fiancé, who had never texted me before. Emily, we should talk about Richard Anderson. My firm would love to connect. Family helps family, right? Family helps family. The same phrase Mom used when I gave Olivia Brown my savings. The same phrase that was never reversed. I turned off my phone and looked at the envelope from Richard. Open when you're feeling better. Not yet, but soon. The wedding was in 5 days. The family that had ignored my brain surgery was now desperate for my attention. They thought they understood power because Richard had money. They had no idea what kind of power was really at play. And they definitely didn't know what would happen when Richard walked into that ballroom. The Fairmont Olympic Hotel ballroom glittered with Olivia Brown's vision of perfection. 200 guests, a string quartet, and centerpieces that cost more than most people's rent. I sat at the main table, my recent promotion from the kids section, a transparent attempt to keep me close. Emily, where's your friend? Mom whispered, scanning the room for Richard. He couldn't make it, I said. Her face fell. Olivia Brown shot me a look of pure venom from her bride's throne. The reception was in full swing when it happened. Mom stood up, champagne glass in hand, commanding the microphone. I want to toast my beautiful daughter, Olivia Brown, she began. She's everything a mother could want. Successful, brilliant, about to make partner at her firm? The crowd murmured approval. Then Mom turned to me, and of course there's Emily. She's in healthcare. A pause. That damning pause. It's so important to have realistic expectations in life, Mom continued, looking directly at me. Not everyone can be a Olivia Brown. Some people are meant for simpler things. The room was silent. 200 people watched my humiliation. Emily, Mom said, her voice carrying across the ballroom. You need to move. Michael's business partner needs your seat. You understand, don't you? Family makes sacrifices. Michael's business partner. A stranger was more important than the daughter who'd paid for part of this wedding. I stood up, my legs shaking. Not from the surgery recovery, from rage. Of course, I said quietly. Where would you like me to go? Olivia Brown laughed. There's a spot at table 12 with the Plusonis. The +1's table? After everything, I was being publicly demoted to wedding purgatory. As I walked across the ballroom, 200 pairs of eyes following my walk of shame. Someone opened the main doors. Richard Anderson entered wearing a tuxedo that probably cost more than the wedding centerpieces. The room shifted. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Is that Richard Anderson, the hospital CEO? He walked directly to me, ignoring everyone else. Sorry I'm late, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. The board meeting ran long. We had something important to announce. Mom rushed over, her face cycling through emotions. Mr. Anderson, we're so honored you could come. Richard looked at her coolly. I'm here for Emily. Only Emily. Then he turned to the room and smiled. Actually, perfect timing. I have an announcement to make. Have you ever been humiliated by family at a public event? You're not alone. Share your story in the comments. It helps others heal. And if this resonates with you, please hit that subscribe button. We're building a community of survivors here. People who understand that sometimes the family you choose is more important than the family you're born into. What Richard said next changed everything. But first, I need you to understand the power of what happened in that ballroom. Not just for me, but for everyone who's ever been made to feel small by the people who should lift them up. Before Richard could speak, Mom grabbed the microphone back, her desperation poorly disguised as enthusiasm. Everyone, we're so blessed to have such successful daughters. She turned to the crowd. Olivia Brown, as you know, is killing it in marketing. And Emily? Well, not everyone can be exceptional. She tries her best with her little nursing job. Little nursing job. The words hung in the air like a poison. Olivia Brown stood up radiant in her designer dress. Mom's right. I mean, Emily's sweet, but she's never really understood ambition. Remember when she got divorced? She laughed. She didn't even fight for alimony. No killer instinct. The crowd tittered nervously. This wasn't a toast. It was a public execution. Michael joined in. That's why Olivia Brown and I work so well together. We're both alphas. No offense, Emily, but you're more of a support role person. Support role person. Like I was an NPC in my own life. Mom took the microphone again. Unlike Olivia Brown, some people never learn to plan their lives properly. Just last week, Emily couldn't even arrange her own ride from the airport after some minor procedure. Minor procedure. Brain surgery reduced to an inconvenience. She expected us to drop everything, Mom continued, warming to her theme. On Olivia Brown's wedding preparation day, can you imagine no consideration for others? Richard stepped forward, but I touched his arm. Not yet. Olivia Brown grabbed the mic. Emily's always been the family burden. Remember Christmas when she showed up crying about her divorce? Total downer. Or when she asked to borrow money for it, like, get your life together. You know, I'd never asked to borrow money for rent. I'd given Olivia Brown money, but the truth didn't matter. This was performance. She still sits at the kids' table at family events. Olivia Brown laughed. 35 years old, but honestly, where else would she fit? The crowd was uncomfortable now. Even they could sense this had gone too far. Mom delivered the final blow. We love Emily, of course, but love means being honest. She's a cautionary tale about what happens when you don't aim high enough. That's when Richard Anderson took the microphone. The room fell completely silent. Interesting perspective, he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the ballroom. I have a different one. Richard Anderson commanded the room with the quiet authority of someone who'd never needed to raise his voice to be heard. I'm Richard Anderson, CEO of St. Mary's Health System, he began. I'm here tonight for one reason, to celebrate Emily Johnson. Mom's face went pale. Olivia Brown's smile froze. 3 hours ago, our board unanimously approved a historic appointment. Emily Johnson is now the youngest chief nursing officer in our hospital's 150-year history. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Her salary, Richard continued, making eye contact with Mom, is $250,000 per year with full benefits and a signing bonus I won't disclose in polite company. Olivia Brown dropped her champagne glass. It shattered on the marble floor. But let me tell you what really matters, Richard said, his voice warming. Last month, Emily spent 17 hours straight with a dying child, never leaving her side. She's learned 4 languages to comfort patients' families. She created a fund with her own money to help parents afford to stay near their sick children. He turned to look directly at Mom. That little nursing job you mentioned, Emily runs a department of 200 nurses. She manages a budget of $15 million annually. She's published in 3 medical journals. Michael's face had gone red. His law firm had been courting St. Mary's for years. The minor procedure she had. Richard's voice turned steel. Brain surgery. A tumor that could have killed her. She went through it alone because her family was too busy with wedding centerpieces. The room was frozen. 200 people witnessed the truth. Emily never told you any of this because she doesn't need to brag. Excellence speaks for itself. He paused. Unlike some people, she doesn't need to tear others down to build herself up. Then he delivered the killing blow. Oh, and Michael, your firm's been pitching to us for 3 years. We've declined because we only work with people who share our values, family values, real ones. Mom tried to speak, but Richard wasn't finished. Emily paid for 30% of this wedding. Did you know that, everyone? The family burden funded this celebration where she was just publicly humiliated. Olivia Brown's bridesmaids exchanged shocked looks. But here's the best part, Richard said, now smiling. Emily's too professional to tell you this, but I'm not. She's been headhunted by Cedars-Sinai, Johns Hopkins, and the Mayo Clinic. She chose to stay at St. Mary's because of the children in her oncology ward. That's the kind of person she is. He handed the microphone back to the stunned MC and walked over to me. Ready to go? He asked quietly. You don't belong here? The ballroom erupted. Half the guests started clapping, a slow, uncertain applause that grew stronger as people processed what they'd witnessed. The other half sat frozen, staring at my family like they were seeing them for the first time. Mom's face cycled through colors I'd never seen on human skin. Her carefully maintained composure cracked like Olivia Brown's champagne glass. Emily, sweetheart, she stammered into the microphone. We had no idea. Why didn't you tell us? Olivia Brown grabbed the mic. This is my wedding, my day. Her voice cracked. Emily always has to make everything about her. That's when the whispering started. Did she really pay for the wedding? Chief nursing officer at 34 brain surgery alone? What kind of mother? Michael pulled Olivia Brown aside, his face thunderous. I could read his lips. Your sister knows Richard Anderson and you never told me. Diane Wilson, who'd ignored my surgery texts, suddenly appeared at my elbow. Emily, darling, we should have lunch next week. Uncle Charles materialized with his business card. Always knew you were special. My company could use a healthcare consultant. Diane Wilson Turner grabbed my hands. I'm so sorry about the airport. The kids didn't really have soccer. The same relatives who'd been too busy to drive 20 minutes were now swarming me like sharks scenting blood. But it wasn't me they wanted. It was proximity to Richard, to success, to a story they could tell at their own dinner parties. Mom pushed through the crowd, tears streaming down her face. But I knew those tears. They weren't for me. They were for her reputation. Emily, please, she whispered. Don't leave. What will people think? They'll think exactly what they should have thought all along, I said calmly. Olivia Brown stumbled over in her designer heels, mascara running. You ruined my wedding. You planned this. I planned nothing, I said. I asked for a ride from the airport. You gave me your answer. The wedding photographer was discreetly capturing everything. Tomorrow, these images would be very different from the fairy tale Olivia Brown had envisioned. Then something unexpected happened. The staff, the servers, the bartenders, the coat check girl, they started clapping, really clapping. One server whispered as she passed, My mom's a nurse. Thank you. Richard stood beside me, solid and unmovable. Emily doesn't need any of you, he announced. She never did. You needed her. Her money, her kindness, her willingness to be your emotional punching bag. That ends today. Mom reached for me one more time. You're still my daughter. No, I said clearly. I'm Emily Johnson, Chief Nursing Officer, and I'm leaving. I took the microphone one last time. The room fell silent, waiting. Mom, you're right about one thing. Family should be honest. My voice was steady, professional. So let me be honest now. I turned to face the crowd, but my words were for my family. When I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, I texted this family group chat. 17 people. Not one offered to visit me in Houston. Not one asked if I was scared. Not one checked if I survived the surgery. Gasps from the audience. Mom's friends from her book club looked horrified. When I asked for a ride from the airport after brain surgery, I was told to take an Uber. Wedding centerpieces were more important than my life. I looked at Olivia Brown. I gave you $15,000 over 2 years, my house down payment. You never paid back a cent, but when you needed wedding money, I gave that too, because family helps family, right? Olivia Brown opened her mouth, but I continued. I've been at the kids' table since I was 30. I've been introduced as the divorced one or the one in healthcare like it's something shameful. I've been your cautionary tale, your comic relief, your ATM. My voice never rose. I didn't need toil. But here's what you never knew. While you were laughing at my little nursing job, I was holding dying children. While you were planning centerpieces, I was saving lives. While you were calling me a burden, I was becoming the youngest department chief in St. Mary's history. I handed the microphone to Richard and looked at my mother. You asked what people will think. They'll think you're the mother who abandoned her daughter after brain surgery, and they'll be right. Mom reached for me. Emily, please, we can fix this. No, I said simply. You can't because I don't need you to. Richard flew 1,000 miles to pick me up. My real family, the nurses who ate lunch with me in Houston, the children who made me cards, the colleagues who celebrated my success, they showed up. You didn't. Olivia Brown grabbed my arm. You can't just leave. What about family? I removed her hand gently. Family shows up when you need them. Richard flew 2,000 miles. You couldn't drive 20 minutes. As I walked toward the door with Richard, I heard Michael hiss at Olivia Brown. You told me she was nobody. She knows everyone who matters in healthcare. I turned back one last time. Congratulations on your wedding, Olivia Brown. Don't worry about paying me back. Consider it my wedding gift and my goodbye. The walk to the ballroom doors felt like a movie. 200 guests parted like the Red Sea. Some reached out to touch my arm in solidarity. Others pulled back as if my newfound power might burn them. Olivia Brown ran after us in her designer heels, wobbling and desperate. Emily, you can't leave. What about the father-daughter dance? You're supposed to stand in for Dad. I stopped. Our father had died 11 years ago. Even at his funeral, I'd been the one making arrangements while Olivia Brown cried prettily for the guests. Ask Mom to stand in, I said. She's good at playing different roles. Please. Olivia Brown grabbed my dress. I need that money back. Michael's going to be furious about the firm losing St. Mary's. You needed my money for emergencies, remember? Consider this yours. Mom pushed through the crowd, her society friends watching with barely concealed fascination. Emily Johnson, if you walk out that door, you're no longer welcome in this family. I laughed. Actually laughed. Mom, I haven't been welcome in this family for years. You just needed me too much to admit it. I'll cut you out of the will. What will? The house you mortgaged twice? The savings you spent in Olivia Brown's first wedding? Keep it all. Richard stepped forward. Mrs. Johnson, your daughter just offered you grace you don't deserve. I suggest you take it. That's when Uncle Charles made his move. Emily, wait. Your success reflects on all of us. We're family now. I'm family, I asked. Where was family when I was in the ICU? Where was family when I couldn't see straight from the pain medication? The wedding coordinator appeared, panicked. The father-daughter dances in 5 minutes. Cancel it, I said. Or better yet, let Mom and Olivia Brown dance together. They've been doing that for years. Anyway, as we reached the doors, I heard the whispers exploding behind us. Chief Nursing Officer, $250,000 salary, brain surgery alone. They made her sit at the kids' table. But the best part was Michael's furious voice. Your sister cost me the biggest contract of my career. Richard held the door open for me. Your chariot awaits, Cinderella. This isn't a fairy tale, I said. No, he agreed. It's better. You saved yourself. Behind us, the wedding continued. But the celebration was over. The Johnson family secret was out. They'd thrown away a diamond while cherishing costume jewelry. My phone buzzed. I turned it off without looking. Some bridges are meant to burn. The fallout was swift and brutal. Within 48 hours, Olivia Brown's marketing firm lost the St. Mary's contract. Not because of me, but because Michael couldn't keep his mouth shut. He'd called Richard directly, threatening to expose him for ruining the wedding. Richard's response was to pull all 12 hospitals from their vendor list. $2 million gone. Olivia Brown called me 17 times that Monday, leaving increasingly hysterical voicemails. You did this on purpose. You've destroyed my life. Michael's partners are furious. But I wasn't the one who'd publicly humiliated a family member. I wasn't the one who'd treated brain surgery like an inconvenience. Mom's social standing crumbled faster than Olivia Brown's marriage prospects. Her book club friends suddenly remembered previous commitments. The country club ladies whispered behind their tennis visors. Mrs. Richardson, Mom's oldest friend, called me directly. Emily, dear, I had no idea what you'd been through. Your mother told us you were troubled. I'm not troubled, Mrs. Richardson. I'm just done. The extended family scattered like roaches in daylight. Diane Wilson posted on Facebook about toxic family dynamics without a hint of irony. Uncle Charles sent a formal letter apologizing for missing my surgery as if documentation would erase his absence. But the real shock came from Michael's law firm. They didn't just lose St. Mary's, they lost the entire healthcare sector. Turns out Richard Anderson sat on 3 hospital boards, and he had opinions about values-based partnerships. Olivia Brown texted me. Michael left me, said I'm a liability. The wedding had been 10 days ago. Their marriage lasted less than 2 weeks. Mom tried a different approach, showing up at the hospital with flowers. Security turned her away. She'd been flagged as a potential disruption to patient care. How could you ban your own mother? She sobbed on my voicemail. I didn't ban her. I simply told security that some visitors caused me medical distress. They drew their own conclusions. Meanwhile, my story had gone viral in the nursing community. The Nurses Deserve Better started trending. Suddenly, I was getting messages from healthcare workers worldwide sharing similar stories of family dismissal. Karen Mitchell pulled me aside one morning. You know, half the nursing staff wants to adopt you, right? I don't need adoption, I said. I've got my chosen family. That night, Richard and I had dinner to discuss the transition. Not a date, something better. A meeting of equals. Any regrets? He asked. Just one, I admitted. I should have left that kid's table years ago. 6 months later, I stood before 200 healthcare workers at our annual summit, not as the forgotten sister or the family burden, but as Chief Nursing Officer Emily Johnson. I want to talk about invisible labor, I began. The kind that families expect but never acknowledge. The kind that drains use until we have nothing left for ourselves. The room was silent, but it was a different silence than the wedding. This was recognition. I'd launched the Healthcare Heroes Support Program, a fund for medical professionals dealing with family trauma. In just 6 months, we'd helped 47 nurses, 23 doctors, and 15 technicians set boundaries with toxic families. We give everything at work, I continued. Then we go home and give more. But what happens when the people who should support us only know how to take? Hands raised throughout the auditorium. These were my people. They understood. Richard watched from the back, proud. He'd become more than a boss or mentor. He was the brother I'd chosen, the family I'd built. No romance, despite what Olivia Brown had desperately hoped. Something deeper. Respect. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. Saw your speech online. I'm proud of you. I deleted it without responding. Pride was easy to claim from a distance. The program grew. We added counseling services, financial planning for those whose families had drained them, legal resources for setting boundaries. Every week, someone would approach me with tears in their eyes. I thought I was alone. You're not, I'd tell them. You never were. Ella White, my favorite patient, was in remission. She'd sent me a drawing of two figures holding hands, one labeled Miss Emily, the other my hero. It hung in my office next to my diplomas worth more than any degree. Olivia Brown had tried to reconcile once, showing up at my apartment with tears and apologies. "I need my sister back," she'd said. "You need my money back," I'd corrected. "There's a difference." She'd left angry, but that was her pattern. Anger when she couldn't manipulate. The strangest part was how peaceful I felt. No more anxiety about family dinners. No more dread when my phone rang. No more making myself small so others could feel big. Karen Mitchell asked me once if I miss them. "I miss who I thought they were," I admitted. "But you can't miss something you never really had." My real family, the nurses, the doctors, the children I cared for, they showed me what love looked like. It looked like showing up. 1 year after the wedding, I received a letter from Mom. Handwritten, formal, the kind she used to make us write for thank you notes. "Emily, I've been in therapy. Dr. Morrison says I need to acknowledge the harm I've caused. So here it is. I failed you. I made you small because I was small. I taught Olivia Brown to take because I never learned to give. I'm sorry, Mom." I sat with that letter for 3 days before responding. "Margaret, thank you for your apology. I hope therapy brings you peace. However, apologies don't erase patterns. You're sorry now because there are consequences. Where was this insight when I was alone in Houston? When I sat at the kids' table at 34, when you introduced me as your disappointment. I forgive you, but forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I've built a life without you. It's a good life. A full life, a life where I matter. I wish you well from a distance, Emily." She never responded, but Olivia Brown did with a Facebook message. "You're really going to abandon your family?" "I didn't abandon anyone," I wrote back. "I just stopped showing up to my own neglect." The truth was I'd found my family. Richard, who still checked on me daily, Karen Mitchell, who'd become my closest friend, the pediatric ward staff who celebrated my victories like their own, Ella White and the other children who taught me that love wasn't supposed to hurt. At our hospital gala, I gave a speech about chosen families. "Blood makes you related," I said. "But loyalty, respect, and showing up, that's what makes you family." The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Later, Richard pulled me aside. Johns Hopkins called again. "They're offering $350K and leave my kids." I looked toward the pediatric ward. "Never." That's what I told them. He smiled. "But I wanted you to know your worth." "I know my worth," I said. "It took 35 years, but I know it." Mom tried one more time, showing up at the hospital on the anniversary of my surgery. This time I met her in the lobby. "You look good," she said carefully. "I am good. Olivia Brown and Michael divorced. I know she could use her sister." "She has a mother," I said. "That should be enough." As she left, she turned back. "I loved you, in my way." "I know," I said, "but your way wasn't enough." That night, my chosen family threw me a surprise party. 1 year of being chief nursing officer. 1 year of freedom. 1 year of being seen. Ella White had made a banner. "Happy you day, Miss Emily. What's you day?" I asked. "The day you chose you," she said simply. And that's exactly what it was. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment about your own boundary setting journey. I read every single one. What boundaries do you need to set with toxic family members? Let's support each other in the comments below. Remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Your worth isn't determined by family approval. It's determined by how you show up for yourself. And to those still sitting at the kids' table in their own lives, it's never too late to stand up and find your real seat at the table. See you in the next